whenever you are dealing with those in a simplified form, it's the indirect object that will come first, the indirect object pronoun rather, and then the direct object pronoun. So, Ana me lo compró ayer. Ana me lo compró ayer. Now, the direct object is going to change in every sentence that you say because your direct object could be a billion things in this world. So it could be a lo, a la, a los, or a las. And then right here, the indirect object pronoun, that could also change because it can refer to him, to her, to me, to you, to whomever, to a billion of people. So for that reason, you have to keep in mind that these two can change. It just depends on what it is you're talking about and who it is that something is being done for. So let me give you another example, okay? So let's get rid of this real quickly. And this structure that I've just told you about, guys, keep in mind that this structure is going to continue as long as you study Spanish. So at first it might seem a little confusing, but I promise that this structure will be a constant, whether you're in the present tense, the past tense, the future tense, whatever tense. This structure of indirect object, direct object pronouns in a simplified form will always follow that structure. Okay? So let's say now that someone did something for us. Okay? I'm going to say that Felipe nos trajo what could Felipe have brought us? Felipe brought us un pastel. I must be hungry because I keep using terms that have to do with food in these videos. So, Alright, so Felipe nos trajo un pastel. You'll learn later that trajo is the past tense of to bring. Comes from this verb right here. Traer. Remember that one from Spanish 1? Well, trajo is the past tense form of that. Again, you'll learn that a little bit later. Okay? So, Felipe nos trajo un pastel. So Felipe brought us a cake or a pastry, something similar to that. So you already know how to identify your sentence elements: subject, indirect object, verb, direct object. Okay? So Felipe brought us a cake. Alright? If I want to say that Felipe brought it to us last week, watch this. Felipe nos lo trajo la semana pasada. Right down there. Felipe, oops, sorry, forgot my S. Felipe nos lo trajo la semana pasada. So, if you notice right here, as we talked about just a few seconds ago, you've got your verb. So what do we have directly in front of our verb right there? We have our indirect object pronoun and our direct object pronoun. Still following that same pattern. Felipe nos lo trajo la semana pasada. Okay? So Felipe brought it to us last week. La semana pasada, last week. So, the lo here, Felipe brought it to us. What does it refer to in that original sentence? It refers to un pastel, a cake. Alright? And then nos, you can see how nos, again, is kind of just bringing it on down. That's who he brought the cake to or for. Okay? So again, following that same structure right there. Felipe nos lo trajo la semana pasada. Now, you probably have already guessed this, but in this simplified form here, listen real carefully. In that simplified form, if I come up to you and say, Felipe brought it to us last week, you're going to be looking and say, he brought what? You would know that he brought us something, but you would not know what it was. So that's why it's always important to have your original sentence first. That's your context. That lets you know what you're subsequent sentence or the simplified sentence is going to be referring to. Okay? So make sure that you have this clear in your minds that in Spanish, just like in English, and I imagine in other languages as well, we don't just use simplified forms without giving some kind of context. Because if you don't give you context, then your communication is going to be lost. All right? So keep that in mind. You have to have a clear context before you can start simplifying. All right. Now, real quickly, let me show you something that I alluded to just a little earlier about the se. So let's just say that I am giving something to someone. All right? Like this. Yo le di el anillo a Marta. All right. So, yo le di el anillo a Marta. So I gave the ring to Marta. Let's see what you can recognize from this sentence already. You probably, from the get-go, since I've explained this in previous videos, you probably know that the le is our indirect object and it is referred to from a Marta. Okay, that just kind of refers back to le, just clears it up. I know we want to get rid of that le in Spanish. I know we think that, why can't we just say yo di el anillo a Marta? Well, sorry Charlie, you gotta have it. So yo le di el anillo a Marta. I gave the ring to Marta. There's our indirect object. What did we give? We gave the ring. It's your direct object. Okay. What was the action? The action was giving. So that's our verb. That comes from the verb dar. We'll learn that a little bit later, but to give, that's the past tense of it. And then yo is our subject. So I gave the ring to Martha or Marta. Okay? Now, let's say that I'm talking with a bunch of friends and I let them know that I gave the ring to Martha. All right? And then one of my friends says, Tim, when did you give the ring to Martha? Well, I could say, yo se lo di anoche. So anoche means last night. So I gave it to her last night. If you remember in class the other week, I mentioned that whenever you have indirect and direct objects together, you cannot have two L object words side by side. So you can't say yo le lo di anoche. You can't have le lo. Anytime two L words come side by side, you have to change the first one to se. Alright? So that's where we have this se from. And that se, who is that referring to? I gave it to, it's referring back to Martha or to her. So yo se lo di anoche. If you still wanted to be sure that everybody knew without a doubt who you're giving that ring to, you could say yo se lo di, let me put a little caret right there, yo se lo di a Marta. Again, I'll put that in parentheses. It's not required, it's just a little extra clarification should you want to give it in this case. But if somebody says, when did you give the ring to Martha? They already know you're talking about Martha, so why would you want to say her name again? I mean, you could, but you don't have to. So, yo se lo di a Marta anoche. Okay? Let's say that I want to give something to a plural group of people. Alright? Well, watch this. I could say, yo les compré los dulces a los niños. So I'm feeling all free-hearted and I just feel like I want to give some candy to a bunch of kids. So, yo les compré los dulces a los niños. I bought the candy for the kids. Alright? Now you notice this time, guys, that les is what we are using. It's our indirect object pronoun, and it's plural. Okay? So if I want to simplify this, I would say, yo se los compré esta mañana. Alright? And esta mañana means this morning. Even though something happened this morning, it's still past tense. Right? So, yo se los compré esta mañana. Now watch this so you don't get confused, okay? The los right here, be careful, does not refer to a los niños. I know that los is in front of niños. But I'm saying I bought them for them. I bought them for them. Or I bought it for them, how we would say it perhaps in English. This se right here is taking the place of les, a los niños. Remember, this is our indirect object, this is our direct object. So if you identify in the original sentence the indirect object, it is les. And our direct object is los dulces. So all you're doing is just simplifying down here. Los is referring to los dulces, and se is referring to les up there. Again, we can't say ses, even though that's les. Some people want to say ses, S-E-S, but that is not possible in Spanish, okay? So we can't do that. So keep that in mind. If you have two L object words side by side, then you have to change the first one, which would be the indirect object. You have to change it to se. You can't say le lo, le la, les los, les las. You can't say les lo, les la. You can't do all that. It has to be se lo, se la, se lo, se las. Okay? So keep that in mind. Keep doing your review, and I'll see you next time. Gracias.